Howdy folks, Jamboree here, and I'm going to be doing a Patron request. The film they chose was My Entire High School is Sinking into the Sea. Dash, Verity and Asaf are in charge of their high school newspaper, but tension starts brewing when Verity gives Asaf his own article to write, and Dash feels betrayed, because he sees Asaf as his writing partner. So he publishes an embarrassing article on Asaf to humiliate him, which the principal puts on Dash's permanent record. While trying to retrieve his record from files in the basement, Dash uncovers a lie about the school's safety, concluding that the school is set for disaster. He tries telling Mary, the head of the student council, but she mocks his accusation. Suddenly, Dash turns out to be right, and the whole school starts sinking into the sea. When I first started watching this film, I was admittedly put off right away. I was immediately overwhelmed by the visuals and puzzled by what I was watching. It wasn't even that I thought that the movie was strange, because I've seen far weirder movies. It's just that the animation and backgrounds are kind of nauseating. It's one thing to make your film trippy, but this is a tacky and cheap kind of psychedelia. The shot perspectives can be confusing to work out. I can't count how many times I struggled to read a scene's environment. And the character animation is crudely primitive, to the point where I felt like I was watching the animatic, not the finished film. At the same time, we're also introduced to the main character of Dash, a vain and narcissistic boy with sociopathic tendencies. Yes, the film is aware that he's an arsehole and tries to use his self-importance for comedy, but I never found him funny. He just rambles on about how great he is and ignores his friends' feelings.
I was that strong. You owe your life to me.
Verity! Where are you?
It's possible to write entertaining jerk characters, but I don't think this is a good example. He failed to charm me or make me laugh. Of course, teenagers like Dash exist, they can be like this, but when he is our hero, and there's nothing redeeming about his off-putting personality, it's a bit much to ask audiences to root for him.
Tip 1. Respect the school paper staff, especially Dash. Any harm done to Dash will be returned tenfold to yourself. Or make it thyself, done to thyself, or enacted upon thyself.
Sure, he does show compassion towards the movie's end, and eventually apologizes to his friends, but for most of the movie, Dash is pretty insufferable. What the film considers his endearing quirks are actually just annoying habits or humble brags. I was also uncertain whether the film wanted to be a black comedy or a straight-up horror, as it can't decide if the deaths of these school kids are funny or tragic, bouncing between both tones at random.
They're not gonna graduate.
Holy shit!
Wish I'd never seen that.
I live on in our shitty memories of him.
And to be honest, I found it all more disturbing than humorous, even if I disliked a student before they died. So, I do think that the film should have embraced the horror aspect more. However, as the film started to carry along, it began to grow on me. At its core, this is a film that uses a disaster situation to satirize high school culture, exposing the cynical holes in the hierarchy kids create, as well as the fakeness generated by holding up reputations. The sinking of the high school shows what these kids are really like once the rules of society are abandoned. The student council are revealed to care more about fame than human values. The senior students turn out to be incredibly immature despite being older than the sophomores, and some students will be the worst humans possible to get what they want. But even though the sinking inspires terrible social disrupt and the loss of human decency, there's still love and kindness to be found. Like Asaf and Verity having a blossoming romance in all of this chaos, adamant that they'll get out of this and have a dinner date together. That's a really uplifting contrast to all the fire, anarchy and destruction happening around our characters. Also, Verity regains her trust in making friends with girls after years of doubting her worth in the social climate, when Mary proves that not every female student is out to betray her.
If we lost you, who am I going to talk to after all of this?
You don't have to.
We're going to have to be each other's trauma treatment therapists. Okay?
Okay. All right. I like hearing about pain.
Most notably though, we meet Lunch Lady Lorraine, the best character in the film. A woman who will do anything to protect these children, being a very maternal woman who never had children of her own.
Did you have any children?
No. Just you all.
She serves as a voice of reason, a nurse for injuries, and the physical defender of our protagonists, showing more maturity and instinct than any of the other adult peers. She's a major reason why I managed to get more into the movie. She's that lovable and fun. Heck, she was the only character that I cared about surviving.
The world's a barren and horrible place, isn't it? These kids are the only hope left. They have spirit. They're all anxious, hungry, and somebody's gotta be there to feed them.
Not to mention, even Principal Grimm admits that this is all his fault, ashamed of his actions and angry at himself for letting these kids down. Even though he's let his students down, Dash won't leave him behind in the sinking, showing that resentment or revenge isn't justified. Grimm then tries to make up for his crimes by sacrificing himself in order to help everyone escape, indicating that there was a good man behind his misdeeds. While I did say that the visuals repulsed me at first, even they too started to grow on me. Yes, as the film continued on, I kept getting whiplash. But after some time, I gradually started to see what the director was maybe going for. As dizzying as the imagery can get sometimes, it's clear that passion went into creating a strangely colourful atmosphere, one that turns this school disaster into a weird fever dream. Which is kind of how a lot of us look back on traumatic events sometimes, recalling our memories as blurry and vague because a part of us wants to forget them. Overall, I would say that this film is okay. It is very difficult to get into, especially because the visuals are so jarring and nauseating. I've been Jambariki, and if you want to make your own request through my Patreon, then all you have to do is make a $10 plus pledge on my Patreon, and you'll be granted the reward of a request. Cheerio, folks.